This
Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our podcast.
Today we're covering one of our favorite Disney movies ever made,
The Emperor's New Groove. Now, this iconic and hilarious movie stars David Spade as Cusco, an egotistical emperor who's turned into a talking llama by his wicked advisor Yzma and her dim but lovable henchman Kronk in order to take over the empire. Now, with the help of the kind peasant Pacha, they journey back to the palace to change the emperor back to normal.
Mm-hmm. And everyone knows this movie.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And everyone knows this movie. Everyone knows. Everyone wants to do trailers and movies and mashups. They remember the lines. We see the references. We see the memes. Emperor's New Groove.
And if you haven't seen it, you must be too.
Because this is one of the best movies Disney ever made.
Absolutely.
And part of what made it so special is that it didn't even feel like a Disney movie. It had like one or two songs. Mm-hmm. That's it. It didn't have the Disney... You had a Disney prince or technically an emperor. Mm-hmm. Instead of a princess, you didn't have the fairy tale.
Well, emperor definitely has a higher ranking than a prince or a princess.
So it's like, wait a minute, what you say? Like, how dare you, princess? She'll be the best. It's like, what you say? But yes, still, it stood out from a lot of other movies. And originally it was supposed to be called Kingdom of the Sun.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, it was supposed to be called Kingdom of the Sun in a whole different feel. And it was more of a... It was more like a drama. You know how we saw Prince of Egypt and how that was more dramatic? Mm-hmm. It was more of a drama, musical. It was kind of dark. He still turned into a llama, but he couldn't speak. And it was more like supposed to be like
it
cinematic.
Was a nightmare script like what's the name of that horrible movie? I'm sorry, and it is with the talking dinosaurs and the people that didn't speak.
The Good Dinosaur?
It's so bad I couldn't remember the title of that movie. So it would have been another Good Dinosaur fiasco. Thank goodness they didn't go with that idea and they went with this one.
Right. And I know some people probably like, oh no, we worked so hard on this, but it probably worked out because this, maybe King of the Sun wouldn't have been as iconic as Emperor's New Groove because it's a whole different movie. I mean, you had some basic characters, even different voice actors, and for years they had planned it, and then they just all changed up the entire thing to a whole different feel. It was more comedy and lighthearted, and like I said, with the cast of really quirky characters you haven't seen any other Disney movie.
And they were excellently cast by the voice actors.
Right.
And first off, David Spade is brilliant as Cusco. And I mean, David Spade is brilliant. He is a brilliant comedian. And I think he is so underrated. He doesn't get as much love as he should get. He'll be on a TV show and, David Spade, great. And then when he's off, you don't talk about him. He should never be out of the public eye, or he should never be out of circulation because he's absolutely brilliant.
Yes.
And the longer he's in this business, the better he gets. But he was just brilliant as Cusco.
Right.
I can't imagine or picture anyone else ever having voiced that character.
Well, originally it was actually supposed to be Owen Wilson when they did Kingdom of the Sun. Owen Wilson was going to be the voice.
Who's a great comedian, and we love a lot of his movies, and super cool guy, but I can't imagine Owen Wilson now that we've got David Spade as being the lead for this character.
Right.
And then, of course, you have Pacha.
Oh, it was like John Goodman.
Yes, who was perfect. Everything they need to come across in the voice of that character comes across.
Right. And yeah, Eartha Kitt as Yzma, and we love Yzma.
Yes, she was brilliant, and she's left her mark. Lots of people who had never had any idea who she was know her now because of this movie, and love her because of this movie. And it was a great way for her to leave her imprint on future generations with a character who was so evil and so blunderous that you ended up loving this character, and you weren't supposed to.
Right, because she was really just psycho, trying to take out the emperor. Yeah, but every time her lines and she had with Kronk were just absolutely hilarious. Her secret lab. It's dinner time.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Rascal had us watch one time. We were watching it, and she was really little. And I know it had to be close to 50 times we kept playing that part over and over. It's dinner time, and throwing our arms up. and I know you don't remember it, and I couldn't believe I sat there with you and we did it that many times, but it was just so funny, and it seemed to get funnier the more we did it. But it's one of the best scenes from the movie.
Right.
And then, of course, you've got Wendy Malick, who you weren't familiar with
till the movie.
At that time.
Yeah.
Of course, you were, but yeah, she was brilliant as Pacha's wife. She had that sauciness to her voice,
right?
And that take care attitude, like
right,
like Frozone's wife,
right? And that was hilarious because, like I said, with these other Disney movies, usually had this standard thing of how these heroes are supposed to be with her. You had to worry about the helpless family, or you had to worry about them being taken hostage. You said, "Oh, don't worry, they can take care of themselves," and they did. Yes. And then you had a Kronk, voiced by Patrick Warburton,
and I think a lot of us were not familiar with whom he was. Mm-hmm. We recognized his voice, but this made Patrick Warburton a star.
Yes.
You looked for him and everything, and when you hear his voice, you're like, "That's Kronk!"
Yeah.
Sorry, Patrick. That's Kronk!
Yes, and he did it very epically in his casting too.
Yes,
because you believe that is he really like this in real life? Because and it comes off when you first see it until like years later, and people kind of watch it a billion times over, and then they on tell me like you realize stuff you didn't realize before about the movie. Mm-hmm. Kronk seemed like an idiot. I mean, some things, but he actually wasn't that dumb. He was just very naive, and he knew better. He just was sometimes confused or naive or concerned, like when he mixed up the vial and it wasn't poison, it was the llama. So you were thinking, oh, he's an idiot, he screwed up.
The label had fallen down,
right. And he said, all your vials look the same. In my defense, so you might want to consider labeling them. So, like, also he really thought that's what it was.
Right. And I think, well, for me, I never thought him as an idiot. He was endearing right from the beginning. Mm-hmm. Right when he would deal with Yzma, you could tell who was the cuckoo and who was the I'm just kind of slow. And that's how he came off as. He always seemed like he was this lovable, endearing character because he would be kind and he would do good things, and especially when he had communication with animals.
Right.
Because animals always can sense when people are evil or not. The animals couldn't stand Yzma, but they loved Kronk.
Right.
And that was your big clue that Kronk was not a bad guy.
Right. And also the iconic squeak, squeaker, squeaking.
Yes.
He could speak
squeak, squeaker, squeaking.
He could speak squirrel.
Yes.
He was fluent in all languages of the jungle. Like, oh my gosh.
And then he was this master chef.
Uh-huh.
Oh my god.
Right, and he had fun in every pit stop that he made throughout the movie. He had his own little thing going on. Yzma would be just like irritated, looking for Cusco, trying to kill him, and Kronk would just be having fun in his own little world and doing stuff. Like he had, there's another one for exotic bird, bingo, and he was just doing all this stuff. He was even fun with Pacha's kids.
Yes.
And like near the end of the movie,
jumping the rope. Yeah.
Hey, that monkey, jumping on the bed. That one fell off and bumped his head. The entire movie, like I said, was just brilliantly done. And then with Cusco, you knew he was a jerk, but you grew to like him anyway.
Exactly.
Way before he learned his lesson.
But you still were laughing at him even when he was a jerk because of the delivery of David Spade brilliantly. You still were laughing.
Right.
And you still were cracking up at this character you weren't supposed to like, but somehow you were still laughing with him.
Right.
At the same time.
Because he had these dry responses when it comes to people, and he was like, it's so taken with himself.
Don't go off his crew.
Yeah.
Beware the crew.
By the way, you're fired.
Now, don't forget to mention the animation and the depiction of this world was absolutely beautiful.
Right.
And it was unlike anything Disney had done before.
Right.
And it still is. Even Lion King is not similar. It's got its own world depiction in the same way.
Right.
But brilliantly animated and beautifully drawn, and the colors and everything about it was just wonderful.
Right. And they had this was the first one they did with about Incan civilization. Because they hadn't done that before, and we think all they were going to do was the princess, but no, they decided just to do a totally different movie that was different, and they worried that it was going to be too much like Hercules or some other fable, so they changed a lot of it. Even with Kingdom of the Sun, they had to revamp so much of it so it wouldn't seem like they're just taking from another story or copyright, so they just went and did something completely different, which turned out well in the end because 18 years later, going on 19, people still loving this movie, remembering it, quoting it, doing mashups, tributes, and just absolutely loving the movie.
I think one thing that makes this movie so wonderful, this is in the same category to me as Toy Story. I remember when Toy Story originally came out, you weren't even a thought. That movie was so wonderful that I went out as an adult and I bought it. And the same thing for Emperor's New Groove. You just wanted to buy this movie and you wanted to watch it. It didn't matter if you had a kid, didn't have a kid, you weren't a kid. It was just that wonderfully done that every age could relate and empathize and laugh. There are very few movies that leave you laughing from beginning to end that are not at the expense of a character or the moralization of a character or some type of lowbrow humor. This movie did it from beginning to end without any of that, and that is what makes it really stand out as a brilliant work.
And the entire dynamic with Pacha and Kuzco, because you know Pacha's supposed to be the straight man. He was complete opposite of Kuzco. He was very kind and helpful. And out the beginning of the movie, he's like, you see that? This guy's trouble. And it's like, but he's not doing anything. What are you talking about? And he was nothing but kind to him the entire time until, like, you know, he just pushed him over the edge at one point, like the swab or something. But it was, you know, in the end, you know, the message got through. And even before he completely, you know, changed, it was still that little seed of, you know, kindness was still planted. Because he's like, come on, no one's that bad. So, just, go ahead.
And also, this movie, every single character was in it. Even the ones that were considered not major, or they would call them not essential characters, was essential. From beginning to end, with the little old man in the beginning, all the way down to the end where you saw, you know, the hug scene and the little flying animals. And everything was essential to this movie. One change, one removal, one line change, and this movie would have not been the same. So it was perfect. Everything was essential for it to be the wonderful movie that it is.
Two more things I want to bring up too. One of the most iconic moments in the movie was when they get
of a million.
When they get to the palace and you think that they beat Yzma there, and then she's there with the potion. You said, that can't be. How'd you get back here before? So she's like, yeah, how did we get here, Kronk? He's like, oh, you got me. According to my calculation, this doesn't make any sense. Because they had the map. You saw what happened to them, and they made it. But somehow they made it back. You're like, oh, well, back to the show. And it's like, yeah, they never really explained how they got there first. But you didn't care that I was the plow because it was funny. It was like, yeah, we don't know how they got there either, but just keep going anyway. Just go on. And also, it did get a direct-to-DVD sequel. When Disney was pushing out a bunch of these sequels in 1 year to get their budget back up, they did a bunch of rushed direct-to-video sequels. Not all of them were bad. And I know people... Kronk's New Groove actually was hilarious. I did love it as much as the original.
And we own them.
And you could tell the animation slightly different. It was focused on Kronk instead of Kuzco, but they did have everyone back for the sequel. They had a new guest star. They gave Kronk a lot of love, a lot of spotlight. It was still the same humor as Emperor's New Groove, just done slightly different because of how long it had been since the first film. And I still enjoyed it very much. They even had Brian Doyle Murphy as Kronk's dad. It was hilarious from beginning to end, just like the original.
Now, one kind of part I want to bring in out of a million is how the running joke was Yzma was scared beyond all reason. Before they even described her, they never described her physically. Scared beyond all reason? Yeah, Yzma. And then the scene where she was getting ready to pull up her dress to take out a knife, and these two dolts thought she was pulling up her dress to show her leg off. And they were like, ah! And then the chandelier fell down, and she was so skinny that she went right through the middle of the hole, and they were like, it's a knife. Oh, okay. They were happy it was a knife rather than seeing her body. Oh my God. It's just brilliant. Brilliant writing. Brilliant script writing. These people that wrote and produced and scripted and everything should have jobs at Disney until forever. They should always have a job somewhere with someone, because it was just absolute brilliance altogether.
Right. And the last thing they had was the Emperor's New School, which I couldn't tell if it was like something that's happened after the movie or somewhere in between, where in order to keep being emperor, he had to go back to school and I guess learn to be an emperor. It was really weird.
Kind of was lost on us.
Yeah, it was. I didn't watch it much. I mean, they still had I think they still had some of the voice actors from the movie, which was great, but it was still an attempt to cash in on that movie.
Right.
And it wasn't as memorable.
It just didn't quite work.
The best thing was hearing the theme song.
Right.
He's going to School Academy. Yeah, at least that was the most fun part about it. And they might have had some pretty good episodes, just don't remember them that well when watching it live.
Definitely. So we know you've seen this movie, so just let us know what are your favorite scenes, your most iconic moments, and how many times have you actually seen this movie? We've seen it about 1 million, because I know when Rascal was really little, every day for months we watched this movie.
Right.
And then we've watched it twice in some days. We've watched it at least once a year in the last few years. So just let us know what makes it a lovable, beloved movie for you in the comments below.
Right. So, thank you so much for watching.
And this podcast is in honor of Valentine's Day and a movie that we love so much. So, to you and your family and your friends, have an awesome, wonderful, loving day full Valentine's Day.
Yes. Thank you so much. I'm Oscar Entertainment.
And I'm Mama Entertainment.
Have a toontastic and lovely day.
Peace, and we love you. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
That a perfect world begins and ends. A perfect world begins and ends. A perfect world begins and ends with us.
And reporters sitting, flashing lights, trying to walk around, man. Who the hell are you? What you wanna do? Well, man, it's on you. Man, it's on you. With her in my dreams, she was my queen. A castle in the mountaintops, rivers and streams. Plucking sunlight from the sky in my pocket. Give it to you later on in the form of a locket. People in the back, for the people in the front, for the people on the side, for the people